Warning, Where Did the Road Go may cause the edges of reality to become fuzzy. This month's Where Did the Road Go is sponsored by the following awesome individuals: Greg Ross, Allison Cook, Super Inframan, 36 Dingo, and Michael Friske. Thank you so much for helping make this show possible.
Transmission start. Welcome to Where Did the Road Go? Join us as we wander off the path and explore lost history, consciousness, the paranormal, unexplained mysteries, alternative thought, and much more. We are present on the web at wheredidtheroadgo.com. Now here is your host, Seriah.
So I am here remote with Christopher Ernst.
Hello.
And Abby.
Hi.
And we just got a tour of your garden, or your mom's garden, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting place. And the weirdest thing about it out there right now is there are fireflies, and it's mid-August.
Yeah.
Which is not a time where there's normally fireflies.
Nope. And I haven't seen them anywhere else, but they definitely are fireflies.
Yes. I actually saw one light up, and I followed it and went, okay, no, that's a real, actual firefly, but why are you here?
Yeah.
I thought it was good at the end. That I really think it was a good way to describe it, in that whether or not your mom meant to the garden that and it's more than a garden. It's like this little, it's
a ritual
forest.
space.
It's like a ritual space. Yeah.
Well,
it's very interesting.
Gothic. It's a gothic sort of pathways winding through trees and through a bit of forest and everything, with like different places where you can kind of stop and rest and have something nice to.
It has a nice vibe to it.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, and it's definitely her artistic side coming out. From like a neurobiologist, which is like, she was a neurobiologist.
Right. Well, maybe unintentionally, or unconsciously, there was being something that was built that would act as, a focus point or a magnet for, or it just so happens that, the way that she did it, those things occurred.
Well, perfect storm. You have someone who has propensity for weirdness in a place that's built for weirdness.
Right.
Yeah. Did I forget if I showed you like those two statues that are out front?
No.
Did you see those?
You pointed them out to me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They're really cool.
Super creepy.
And I was wondering
cool.
where they came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she bought them for a reason, but I highly doubt that she would even know what that reason was. Like, she just gravitates towards things. And I mean, I should show you her bedroom. I mean, they're not here right now, so it's not like you'd be infiltrating. It's just like, these are two random men coming on in to see your weird Native American altar. But it's an altar to a bunch of it's like, she says that they're all Navajo, but I can tell they're not. It's like a hodgepodge of like different Native American tribes that are like all like functioning as like their bed is back here, and then they're both staring at this wall with like, this altar with this statue on it of like a woman seated and, with feathers and everything. And then these sort of paintings on either side of it's sort of a whiteified portraiture of these Native American women, but she has no idea what tribe they're from. But she builds altars.
That's really interesting.
It's her, and So what do you? So I would love to know. I mean, based on the feeling outside isn't there anymore,
No, it feels very good out there.
It feels good, right?
And the insects are even louder than at my house, which I didn't think was possible.
I don't even hear them. It's so funny. Like, I was like, what insects? It used to be, completely silent, most nights with like that sort of cathedral dome.
Yeah,
that would be,
that would be creepy.
Very creepy,
silent,
yeah.
Completely silent. And
that would seem very unnatural.
Yeah, it felt unnatural, and like the womp in your ears, and just this pressure, this undulating kind of pulsation, and also this almost like this static electricity. Like I told you, I used to get shocked all the time. Like if I tried to plug anything in, I would just get shocked. So like really, like not just a little like blip of a sort of whoa, that felt weird, but like it hurt, and it would like run up my whole arm, and I could see the sparks,
And this is just when you would plug into any like regular outlet on the wall?
Yeah. Okay. And it's only weird because it doesn't happen anymore, like if it was happening all the time, I would say, well, we've got like a grounding problem.
Sure.
Whatever, But I guess like my regret at the end of our last episode was like I didn't let you talk at all.
No, that's fine. It was about your experiences. I didn't need to talk.
But I really didn't let you talk.
I think people want to hear your experiences more than us analyze them.
Yeah, we talk
See,
all the time.
I would love to hear your like what you think, because I didn't know anything about this, and like while it was happening, I only learned about it afterwards.
Yeah, that's the thing. You weren't into the paranormal at first.
I was into like drawing. Oh, I still have to show you my dragon. He's right over there. I'm still so proud of him. Meet him in high school, but I mean, when I was a kid, I would write a lot of poems about fairies in the forest at night.
Sure.
Everything was about fairies or dragons. I wrote these quest stories that never ended. Like, I could never finish them because it was always like this tree branch where it was like in a quest, like you meet the new character and then you deal with their problem and then you're supposed to go back to the main quest, right? But with me, it's like a tree that like never goes back to the trunk. It's just, so it'd be these quest stories that would just like sort of peter off into these different realms. But yeah, because I was obsessed with like The Hobbit and stuff. But I never watched any of the TV shows or anything like that.
Right, but that's not paranormal so much. That's fantasy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess there is that distinction. Yeah.
I mean, just because some of the fantasy comes from the paranormal, it doesn't mean fantasy is paranormal.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like literature, I think it's like influenced by folklore and the paranormal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, you're probably going to get more accurate like myths. Are and based on myths too, like fiction being,
Yeah, I guess, like, I don't see much of a distinction between, like, the magic that occurs, like, in fantastical fictional writings and paranormal,
Right.
And so I'd love to, like, do you guys have any thoughts on...
On which part? You've had so much stuff happen to you.
So I guess like the main thing that has bothered me ever since was the part that was very human. Mm-hmm. So and I don't know if I told you about that, but like I would have these really quiet helicopters, like basically every night for years. That would skim over the treetops. They were so low and so quiet, and they didn't have any lights besides sometimes they would have a searchlight out. And I managed to get one video of this and then it just disappeared. But I never knew what they were looking for, why it was so quiet, why sometimes I just wouldn't look at it and I would just ignore it and go about my 3 a.m. business or whatever, wandering around the yard.
And that's the fact that it's 3 a.m. It makes it weirder.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know what to make of those things. What were you going to ask?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, did anybody else ever see them as helicopter? To see them? And I'm not saying it because I doubt you. I'm I'm curious.
No. Nobody was ever around.
Okay.
My dogs could vouch for me.
Sure. No.
Their dogs and their dads.
Yeah. Well, I believe the dogs probably,
Did the dogs react to them?
I can't remember them reacting to them. I kind of doubt that they would just be.
Yeah.
Maybe Toby would look up and be like, hi, but you couldn't even really see them very well.
So, yeah, the way you describe, and again, this is just coming through, my filter, I think that it seems to me like a lot of things that might have a form that seems familiar, so like black helicopter, shiny metal disc or something
shiny,
like
it was
that.
So
no,
bad.
yeah, but that's what I mean. That I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if they necessarily were helicopters.
Yeah.
So the form that they're taking being something
sometimes it looked like an insect.
That's a prosaic one. Yeah.
Giant.
Right.
Insect.
And I don't even know if that means that it's a giant insect. It's like, I'm thinking
it's an anomaly.
Right. Or something that does not have a form in the way that we think of forms. Yeah. So there's a form that's being, put together from either whatever, conspiracy tropes are in the ether or your own mind, maybe, something like that.
Well, I know the last time I talked to Steph Young, one of the stories she told me is that one night when she was on Coast to Coast, there was a helicopter right outside her window, it sounded like, through the entire show.
For the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the show, it stopped.
It left, yeah.
And she's like,
it just stopped.
Yeah, and she's like, it never happened before. It hasn't happened since.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I'm going, oh my God, can they hear this helicopter? What's going on with this helicopter?
Yeah. That used to happen, to the point where I just stopped noticing it. Yeah. I would just hear a whirring above my head every night, all the time. Or sometimes my entire room would light up from every window, which is impossible. As though a light were, because I had 3 sides open, and I lived on the 2nd floor, but there's just a roof over the 3rd floor. Is on the other side of the house, so I had a roof. But sometimes it seemed like there were 3 different lights all shining in. The exact same time for 3 seconds, then it would go away, and it would be this luminous blue color, and then it would just go away. But that whirring sound, that constant whirring sound, sometimes still happens to me at my apartment. And I'm like, there's no possible way that on the 1st floor of my apartment in this tiny little village, there's a helicopter right next to me. There's no way. That could be something else, very easily. But the other human-esque elements would be the cops that would show up.
Oh yeah,
right.
And also the dude with the drone.
I think we need to have you tell people what those are. So go back and explain to people who maybe didn't, because I think you might have talked about this on the Patreon segment. I don't remember exactly because it was last year. Well, and before you do that,
see, I knew I should have listened on the way here.
Before you do that, did you tell any of these stories publicly prior to coming on my show?
No. Never,
okay.
Never.
Because there are researchers, and even Steph Young, writing books about this stuff, you could say, well, maybe someone's targeting her to make her paranoid. Greg Bishop has stories that sound like that, but also may not have been actual people.
Yeah.
But they were people who were putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
If you didn't put the stuff out there, there's no reason that someone should have been targeting you. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So tell the police one.
Yeah. Well, before I do that, before I forget, we did have this naval engineer come to the house because I was getting shocked all the time. He was an EMF, RF, radio frequency expert. And this was before they put up those 2 5G towers outside my house. I've always been sensitive to cell phones and RF signals. It's just always sort of felt like a current running through my body, and it gives me migraines and headaches and makes me shaky and sort of off kilter. Sometimes I can't like relax my muscles, like they'll get like all contorted and stuff if it's really bad. So we hired this guy named Sal, who used to work on naval ships for U.S. Navy SEALs, trying to keep them safe, basically with Faraday
cages,
equipment and stuff. Yeah, that shields you from the RF signals and stuff, because these are like killing machines that can't like afford, not killing machines, but machines that are really, trained and valuable to us, and we can't afford to let them be like
inundated with
disoriented. So he used to do that, and then he retired, and then became a building biologist, which is basically like an EMF expert. He goes to people's homes, tests for things like infrasound and EMF, RF, magnetic fields, blah, blah, blah. So he did all these tests, and he said that so I had gotten a tri-field meter after a while, because I was like, there's something going on here that's just really bad. I got this tri-field meter, and the RF was off the charts. I mean, it was more than the meter could measure. So we hired this guy, and he said that the RF was concentrated within my room solely, even though that makes no sense.
So was he not picking it up outside your room, or was it just centered in your room?
He was picking up like higher levels throughout the house, but specifically in my room, he said that there was infrasound that was unpredictable and crazy, and was like sort of going off in spurts, and was coming from somewhere in the backyard. And like I was thinking in my head before he said it, like as this like meter was going like beep 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 beep, like freaking out. I was like, don't say infrasound, don't say infrasound. And he was like, you've got some infrasound. Like, and he was like, and I don't know where it's coming from.
Wow.
And he didn't know why it was concentrated in my room. I was like, well, okay, we've got like the smart meter like down over here. We've got a generator like over here. Could it be any of? I mean, come on, dude. You work for Navy SEAL. And he was like, well, so sometimes I have clients who hire me because they have an argument with a neighbor, and they think that this neighbor has decided to point an antenna in their direction. And, it's like a property dispute or whatever, some sort of neighborly thing. Very neighborly to point an antenna.
It seems like a lot of effort to go through.
Energy weapon.
Yeah.
So I'm just being like, I'm sorry too. Can I borrow a cup of sugar? He said that story as some sort of anecdote, but without any context whatsoever. And I asked him, is there a reason you just told me this story? Like, are you referring to me? And do you think that that's what's going on? And he said, no, I'm not specifically referring to you. I'm just saying that there's literally no logical, rational place where all of this stuff could possibly be coming from. And that was it.
That was his conclusion.
That was his conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like so many other things. Like what is it? The vertical plane we were going through when the Psychic Research Society comes by and looks at it. It was that computer that was essentially like talking through time.
Right, like way back in the day. Right? Yeah. I remember that episode. That was fascinating.
Yeah, but the way in which he responded it's like very stock kind of. Can't figure out what's going on, but it's got to be something, which is not helpful at all.
Yeah, right.
He was the nicest guy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He was the nicest guy. I mean, and we called him later after they put up those towers, and he, talked us, like, it basically, like, we were just, my family and I were just arguing back, like, we were just fighting, and my dad was like, we got to call Saul. Yeah. And so we called him up and he just acted like a mediator basically, but really nice guy, really smart guy, but
did it stop when those towers went up?
So I don't believe so,
okay.
But I did move shortly after that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, because that was his basically his advice was like, I know you're really sick now. This is probably not helping.
Right.
When you get better, you got to move as soon as possible. And in the meantime, set up Faraday equipment. And I already had a Faraday thing around my bed. Like I built like a thing with like PVC pipe and stuff. And I built one for my dogs too.
Did that help?
So I'm curious though, the guy, when he said that to build the Faraday, what was he thinking? Like, I don't know, that just seems like for somebody that's like a prosaic Navy SEAL materialist scientist to be like, yeah, you should put a Faraday cage around you. That there's something he's got to be thinking is happening. I don't know.
I think that he told that story. I think that was
okay. So he thinks that somebody's like, yeah, okay. In his mind, it has to be another human being pointing like espionage weapons at you or something, right?
Yeah. And it's just, he said it like I remember he was like looking at a piece of equipment as he was like sort of vaguely like rattling off this random anecdote, like sort of very casually.
Sure.
And to me, this was all very, very new. I didn't even know you could point an antenna at somebody and like cause them harm.
Right.
I mean, and it immediately made me think of this one photo I took of our neighbors. They had like a. I mean, I don't think this is it though. But they had a birdhouse, like this big birdhouse that they built, and I took a photo of it one day because there was a bird on top of the birdhouse, and I looked closer at it, and I noticed there was an antenna inside of it.
Sure.
But that happens all the time. They put antennas inside churches all the time.
Right.
It's like praying.
I mean, I don't think that.
Yeah,
was it. I
don't think so either.
No,
I don't think so.
Why would you put an antenna in a birdhouse, though? Now I'm Googling it.
Yeah. Well,
but what I do think is that like something that produces the same effects or even the same, if this infrasound, like some other thing that exists in this space that we talk about on the show so often, which is like a non-material world, can do the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I think so too. And I think that was his only, from a very materialistic perspective, the only thing that he could come up with, but I would much prefer that, I mean, just like the first time I spoke with you about this, you said, so you live on a portal.
Was it like that?
Well, the birdhouse is actually like this, it's some sort of like menagerie or something.
Right, but was that the
like,
type of antenna?
Big thing. No, the antenna was like an antenna. So it had like spikes.
So they are used for ham radios. I don't know why they put them in birdhouses, but it's a creative way to conceal a radio antenna, often used by radio enthusiasts.
I don't think that's going to cause that sort of invasive.
Why do you want to conceal that?
Just because they're ugly.
Oh, okay. And the ham radio, that's like a whole cult. I mean, not a cult, and there's nothing wrong with cults.
I think it's arguable that it is a cult to some people, probably.
Well, hey,
I interrupted.
nothing wrong with cults.
Depends on the cult.
Depends on the cult and the drugs being used.
What was the thing you were saying that I interrupted you with a birdhouse picture of?
I have no idea.
Yeah, me neither.
I do think, though, I mean, the idea, this connection between electromagnetism, is something that I've been coming across in the stuff I've been reading since I was a kid. I mean, like if, like I just talked about on the show that I did with Seriah recently, who was asking me about my childhood, there are numerous stories of these guys that are, essentially what they're dealing with is they're dealing with spiritual evolution, and that, for lack of a better way of describing what a lot of these things are that are happening to people, one way of looking at it is that these are byproducts of a spiritual evolution and of, a person who's not fully, who has other parts of their body that exist in other realms and spaces that they're becoming aware of. And that a lot of times, particularly if it gets like blocked in the similar way that you would have a blocked Kundalini, I guess, or,
something
electricity is a lot involved in this. So there are these like anecdotes I read many times of these guys that would be they were called musts. So they're like spiritually stuck or psychically stuck in this like loop. And this also is within the realm of reincarnation, but so they would come out of like doing meditation and they would brush by somebody and they would have this electric shock that would go throughout them. Or there would be a guy that would, have been doing meditation work and he would come out, and a lot of these guys acted kind of crazy. He would like grab and start chewing on the electrical wires, but he wouldn't die, and there would be sounds people would hear, a lot of it very similar to infrasound. So this like these low, heavy thing. They often talked about him sounding like the boots of giants, but it was, so all of these like, which I also think is, if you're talking about sound, that's vibration. That's also working with the electromagnetic spectrum.
Absolutely.
Is that,
and that wave kind of
and I mean, that's also what you were hearing is that whoom, whoom, whoom.
Exactly.
As well as the high-pitched sound.
And feeling it, too. Feeling that constant, like...
So I'm guessing that's all connected. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it is, but I mean, it would make sense if it was.
Yeah, no, but there's so much that you just said there that's so interesting. I'm trying to process it because I mean, like I was telling you guys, like I'm a completely different person than I was before this all started happening, and I don't think I would be alive now, like honestly, if this stuff hadn't have happened, because it gave me like this whole new idea of what reality could be. Like it gave me this sense of like wonder and awe, and I could look forward to seeing it like every night. And before it was just despair, it was just, I was so sick and I was not getting better,
Now, was this from the Lyme disease?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll clarify for people if that's important. I don't want to give people medical advice, but Lyme disease can get really bad if you don't notice it, if you don't notice the tick bite, or if you don't get it treated with, at the very least, like 2 months of doxycycline. I would say a month of doxycycline. Many doctors are coming around to the idea of late stage illness that was diagnosed late, and therefore, like, you'd no longer have the initial sort of telltale bullseye rash.
Right, yeah.
So the longer it goes without treatment, of course, the more systemic and the more deeply embedded into your tissues and system and brain it's going to get.
And you're still dealing with this.
I still have to take antibiotics. I have to take 3 different antibiotics twice a day, every day.
And how many years has this been?
It's been over a decade, and it's because I got it when I was a little kid, and then it wasn't treated, and then I got it again. So it immediately reawakened the latent illness from when I was a kid.
I have a friend from high school who the exact same thing happened to him.
Really? Yeah.
Well, it was in high school that he ended up getting it, but it's been, it's completely changed his life.
Yeah.
He's, he's living and dealing with it as many people do with chronic illness, but it is a horrible bear of a thing that he's really struggling with.
It can be fascinating too.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be fascinating. Like, so just to end the medical thing, if you notice, like, and on your pets too. I had a dog die of Lyme disease. She was only 8 months old. Her name was Lucy. Don't name your dog Lucy either. Don't name anything Lucy because it'll die. That's just my
Have you had many pets named Lucy?
No, I just feel like the name Lucy is like the name of a haunted thing. Like I don't know why. I just feel like there are lots of Lucys out there that are ghosts. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe like Interview with the Vamp or Dracula. I don't know.
Interview with the Vamp.
Right, Lucy. Yeah, Dracula.
There's just I was a little too young to see that movie, and that just got embedded.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't name anything Lucy. And I had another friend whose dog was named Lucy, and they died too. If you notice like an engorged tick on your dog, there's a thing called a tick twister that you can get that you should get because it will take out the entire tick.
Yes.
Right, you gotta get that.
Yeah, that's important. That's so important because if the head stays in, what it will do, it's super fun and it's a bioweapon, so it's like very efficient and effective. It will regurgitate all of its illnesses, whatever it's carrying. I mean, it's just a case, like a metal case of illness.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is.
But not all ticks have Lyme disease either.
Yeah, there are natural ticks still out there, like in the wild, but like then there's like also like the ones that have been unleashed, like or accidentally, oh whoopsies. So I would get like this thing called a tick twister, and it takes out the tick fully, and then I would still take your dog or pet to the vet.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just to see.
And the other thing is the bullseye.
Yeah.
If you have a tick on you and you see that bullseye.
Yeah. And then you've got all you need for like CDC criteria. Like you've checked all those boxes, but it doesn't have to look like a bullseye is the problem. It could be like a mottled reddish rash. Yeah. It can look like anything really. So just to end that, I just feel like that's really important for people to know.
Sure.
And it also puts you in a very liminal state, which we know this stuff tends to occur in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the number of times that I've experienced sort of something like what you described recently in your Meher Baba episode.
That's it.
I used to, when I was really, really sick, but before I knew what was going on, I was going to see doctors every weekend, but I was also living in New York City trying to get into film, actually.
Yeah.
And I would have, and this has happened a couple of times, but it was really profound. I think it has something to do with moving, with swift movement, where your body gets confused about, like, they say to prevent car sickness, don't face out the front window so your body understands, like, the movement that it's experiencing.
Yes.
So the times that I've experienced this thing have always been on the subway when I was just watching, this sort of fast-paced, where it's like rapid eye movement, where I would lose all sense of identity, all sense of time, all sense of, like I wouldn't know what year it was. I would know I was in New York. I would know I was on a subway. I could identify objects, but I would have no idea why I was there, what year it was. I would sort of cycle through different possibilities, like, am I on like a high school trip, maybe? Like,
interesting.
Like, no, like, I don't know, like, and I would just have to wait, you know, until things came, until the content of things. It was like the form without the content. So like I could identify the objects. I could say that a person is a person. But I wouldn't know, if I knew that person, I wouldn't know it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a trance state is what it sounds like.
But only like more intense than that. Yeah, because I feel like I was frequently in a trance state where I was, or a fugue state, at least, unless our definitions of trance are different. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of zoning out and then losing that sense of self.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, completely, though. Yeah.
I mean, that happens, though. The sense, like, to different degrees. It's there's a name for it that I was raised. It's not It's not nirvakalepsa samadhi. It's a different kind of samadhi. It's similar to what people can do through breathing and meditation.
Yeah.
But it's controlled there. So what's happening? I mean, it sounds, again,
It wasn't
completely
terrifying. It's not terrifying. It's very calming. It's very calming.
And that's what makes me think this is what it was. Yeah. Is that maybe you're prone to be able to do that very easily, and so when you have that stroboscopic stuff, that's going to do it to you. I mean, I talked recently on, I think it was one of the Patreons, about my mentor, this guy who's a experimental filmmaker in the 50s, who was trying to do that to the audience.
Anger?
Like, no, not Kenneth Anger, but one of his friends, this guy Tony Conrad.
Yeah.
Kenneth Anger totally was too, but Tony made this film called The Flicker, which was just this particular pattern of, I'm sure if you were doing film in New York. Yeah.
I always had to leave during Kenneth Anger films in the middle of them because I realized I was starting to black out, or something was starting to happen to my brain.
He was doing it too, for sure.
And I knew something was going on besides experimental filmmaking or whatever, so I would leave.
Well, it is experimental. It's just reaching out of the film and altering your brainwaves.
Specifically, Kenneth Anger, it's like his films were rituals.
Yeah.
They were cinematic
Lucifer
rituals.
Rising is not the name of it.
Invocation of My Demon Brother.
Sirius remembered watching it slowly decaying dog in the woods. I think I wrote a comment about that on your thing, how my film professor came out one day and he was so mad. Because I think he wanted us to basically be hypnotized by this stuff, and I would leave every single time. I would start feeling that I would feel it kick in. And so I would leave and just stand in the bathroom for 10 minutes and then come back.
That's a bad professor there.
Yes.
It was I think he was really into, because he made us watch Sirius Remembered and Lucifer so many times. It was absurd. And also Symbiopsychotaxiplasm.
I'm
cool.
very familiar with that.
Okay,
I was the cinematographer on a similar film to that one, where it was 100 people playing the same two roles.
Yeah, I kind of like that weird one. At least there was narrative.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about, and not to go too far on experimental film professors, is that you have to understand, it's in the same way that if you're trying to get somebody into metal, you don't immediately play Portal for them. You know what I mean? I don't even know if you know what Portal is. Yeah, you know what Portal is. Or I don't know, maybe that's a bad example.
No, that's a good example, because I get the title's powerful.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get so wrapped up in your identity being that it becomes personal, and you're like,
he took it personally. His hand was,
that's too bad.
He grabbed me by I felt this shaking, cold hand on my shoulder, grabbing me so hard, and I was like, oh shit, it's Scott, And I turned around and he was so red in the face, and just his whole body. He was like, "You cannot leave in the middle of the film. You cannot leave.
Sorry.
And I was oh, yes, I can.
Yeah,
and
good.
now I'm going to do it probably
On behalf of all
way
film
more
professors, I
often.
apologize. Gosh, that sucks.
No, it's just I don't want to be hypnotized. Like I don't want that.
for sure.
feeling, you know?
Yeah. No,
Like-
I totally understand that as well.
And
yeah.
and I could feel it, you know. And if I'm already like very prone to it, which I think I probably am, if you know, I mean, nobody else seemed bothered by it,
Right.
And I wasn't necessarily bothered by it. I
could
just
be a
felt like
sensory
something
thing.
was going on.
It could just be a sensory thing, which is equally, valid that you don't want to watch that. Yeah. Completely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Nor
like,
should you ever watch anything you don't want to. Really.
Yeah, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, there is like you do have to stay for class, I guess. For
Sure.
certain,
Yes.
but you know,
Yeah.
but if I pretend like I have to pee, then I can go pee. Anyway.
So yes,
So
trance states.
bringing it back, yeah. So your definition of trance state would be similar to that,
It's
to
an
the
alter-
form
it's-
without the content.
Yeah, I mean, it's an altered state of consciousness. There are different types of trance states.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could definitely be a form of trance state
Right.
where you're disconnected from your main ego.
You definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're picking up a few things, like you're not in danger and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Or you have no context for it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have no
okay, that's a
context
good
for
word.
fear.
Yeah.
For fear at all. Nothing.
Well, no context, period, from the sounds of it. You're just like, where am I? I feel like I've had dreams like that where
Oh yeah.
I've been in the dream, been like, what's going on? Where am I? You know?
Yeah. Where it's almost you're watching a movie. Almost. Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to a lesser degree, like it's not something that I think I'd ever went that far that I was, going away from, sort of receding from my ego. But I mean, the experience that sounds like you shared of being on like the subway in New York, or being a person who's traveling in New York, especially if you have like headphones on, you're in New York City and you're taking the public transit. There's something which can be very like meditative or like almost there's a sense, even though you have so much sensory stuff going on around you, it's almost like that noise is creating, for me at least, it creates like a cocoon where I was able to go into these sort of meditative
Flow
states.
states.
Yeah, flow states.
When you go with the flow of New York City, it becomes like an extremely calming thing. You know,
it's
like,
a lot of the films I made when I was like there were about that experience.
it becomes like you're part of the river or whatever. Like if you're in a hurry or whatever, and you try to get off the subway and then like get around all these people, like blah, 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 blah. Like you're only hurting yourself, people are just going to you're not going to get there any faster. But if you go with that current that like sort of helps you, like propels you, like effortlessly, it's a beautiful thing. You feel like this singular mass organism, or you used to back when I lived there. I'm sure it's different now, but way back when, I used to sometimes like go into a phone booth when I would get over like phone booths. Where'd they all go? That's a big question. Are they on like a big hole in Arizona somewhere, like Nevada?
I had a grad student when I was teaching in New York that did a short film on phone booths in New York.
Really?
And it's like there are a few, and this was probably 10 years ago, so I don't know if it's any different now, but there are a few people that have bought them. So they're like these like entrepreneurs that have bought them, and they're like trying to make money off of them. And like there's this one guy, he had like this basement full of old phone like equipment that he would go and replace stuff and try to make sure it worked and collect the quarters and stuff. But I guess what was happening is companies were coming in at that time, this was 10 years ago, and buying them to create like Wi-Fi hotspots. I don't know if this has happened. I moved away from New York City 10 years ago, so I don't know. Yeah.
But where did all the booths go?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that there are these? Yeah. The
Is there a
booths,
special? Is there a special landfill?
I don't know.
Is there a hole next to like all the electric cars in Nevada?
Yeah.
What happened to the electric car?
I miss those phone booths.
I miss those phone
They're
booths
buried
so
with the
much.
ET cartridges.
Right.
With the what?
The Atari ET
The Atari
cartridges.
ET game.
Oh,
It was
where
a
you
game.
blew on them? I know that.
No. The ET game was such a bomb that they ended up taking all the cartridges of
And
the
they dumped
Atari-
them in a landfill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In Nevada?
It was like a scandal. I don't know. It was probably in
Point of
Nevada.
Nevada?
It was like a scandal. The Atari scandal.
I need to go to Nevada to just check out all the holes.
Yeah.
That's a brand,
Like, what's
brand
in
new
them?
sentence.
Like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, brand new sentence. Yeah, I'm totally into that. I embrace it. Yeah, because like, what other things are we missing that we didn't even notice disappeared?
Oh, lots
Oh,
of
so many.
So many things.
I mean, even payphones in general, not just booths. But when we were shooting Gateways to Magonia, and I'm like, all right, we need a payphone.
When you were shooting Gateways to Magonia?
Yeah.
It's a film.
The
film you made.
I didn't know you made a film, Gateways to Magonia?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yes, it's the only serious movie I've ever made.
You should say it louder.
It's on the YouTube channel for Weird the Road.
It is?
Is it on
I've
Weird the
never
Road Go?
seen
It's somewhere up there.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Well,
I've never come across
I will send
it.
you a link.
Okay. No, I mean, but I go on your page all the time.
I probably haven't posted it in a while. I mean, it got done in 2010, 2008, something
Did
like
you
that.
help him with?
No, it was before we even met.
Yeah, this is before I was
Long
doing
time
Weird the
ago.
Road
I
Go.
want to see that.
And so I needed a phone booth. Or not a phone booth, but just a payphone.
Sure.
And we're like, where are there still payphones? This is, like I said, this has got to be like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
We couldn't find it. Finally, we found them at the bus station.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, look, payphones.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, bus station.
I still remember I had Joe pretending to call someone. And, of course, he's holding it to his head, and it starts just buzzing loudly because he hasn't put money in or dialed.
Right.
Yeah.
Doing the,
And he'd be like, and then it's buzzing at me.
The dial tone.
It's like he can't
Sound, edit that out.
He can't remember. Well, I couldn't hear it, but it was so loud in his ear, he couldn't keep it to his head and pretend he was talking to someone.
Sure, he could.
He could barely remember his lines.
Method acting, for Christ's sake. Come on.
There's a whole blooper reel of Joe not remembering his lines. To the point where the other people in the scene also know Joe's lines.
Yeah, there is a film out there somewhere where I tried to act in it because the part was like made for me because my friend just thought I was an actress. But I told her I'm not an actress. I don't know how to act, and she was like, "Yes, you do." I was like, "No, I don't. I don't. I don't. I have no idea what I'm doing." She's like, "Well, the part's already written for you, so you have to do it." So I did it, and I was so bad. She was like, "It just took a lot of editing. A lot of editing.
That's not what you want to hear. Oh, well.
A lot of, and
Well, you did warn her.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was, it's too late, man. It was so bad. It's really bad. And that will never surface.
Aw.
Oh no, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
So, did you have other questions for Chris about the Mayor Baba stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Oh, sure.
way more comments, but they're questions.
Okay. No, I'm happy to talk about that. Yeah.
I love the difference between comments and questions. It's just funny. Yeah, I like what he. I wouldn't be bothered by somebody saying, I am Buddha, I am Christ, I am. Is he basically saying sort of they're all the same thing?
He is, and he's also saying that you are too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
that's what I wrote down. And
Yeah.
because he's a human, we're humans. Like
Yeah.
if he is, we are, and if it's all the same, so is he. But blah blah blah.
We all have the same ability to
Yeah.
connect to the divine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that is in fact why we're here. That's our purpose, is to like go through that journey of self-discovery that we are, part of a like holographic fractal consciousness that's
I like that a lot.
been split.
Right.
Yeah, and that's that's why I feel comfortable with it too. Along with the fact that I think that he, as a figure, really, very much was embodying a trope of that time. You know what I mean? Like the trope of the guru, from the Far East, which is such a specific thing if you think about it in terms of like, we haven't always thought that way about like, there's, Europe and then the mysterious East.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like a very specific thing that's part of how our culture's been. And I think that he was like playing into
with
that.
it,
That was like the role he was embodying for that particular time. And, if you read the stuff that he communicated, he says that all of these different, masters who ended up people forming religions on were playing to the time. That's why Jesus was doing miracles, like straight up miracles, and was, never married and, led this particular life, is that like, that's what was needed.
But there's
at the
also
time.
questions about that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
How much of that has been changed from the original scripture?
Well, yeah, that's true. From what, and this is only going off the Meher Baba material, if you if you buy into the idea that these are all sort of similar, either the same person or similar people that are sort of like embodying these, that at that level, they're asexual. So there is there's no, even though they might have a male or female form, there's when you get to the God realization, you go beyond gender and sex.
Right,
because it's
if you don't want to put yourself above the people, if you want to basically say, look, I'm a divine being.
Right.
I'm connected to source.
Yeah.
All across the board.
Yeah.
So are you.
Yeah.
You want to be as human as possible, right?
Right. So what I was just saying, that's in terms of whether or not these. So the way that the information I was told is that if a person who becomes a perfect master or an avatar, which are essentially the same things, basically when the human being gets to the point where they have that breakthrough and their consciousness becomes one with the universe, that before that point, most people act normally. So if you have a wife or a husband, you might have kids or something like that. But after the point that you achieve what would be called a God realization, you wouldn't sex or, those they don't exist for you.
Right.
So you wouldn't have progeny, you wouldn't have children after that. But again, this is only just one, that's,
That makes sense.
That's all I was saying. Yeah. I don't know. It could be that there are, Jesus did have.
I'm trying to remember her name. I have the two people that they wrote the book that the Tom Hanks movie, what was that?
Yeah, Da Vinci Code. Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
So they wrote the book that was kind of based off of.
Right. I forget their names. They also did, what was it called? No.
There was
what's it called? Something blood, something.
Yes. Yeah, I don't remember.
Grail? Yes. Yeah.
That's I think the one that they built.
Holy Blood, Holy Grail,
yes,
maybe?
That was the one I think that was built off the Da Vinci Code. But I had them on for the Divine Feminine.
Divine Feminine, yep.
And the removal of it throughout our history.
Right.
And part of that was...
Mary.
Yeah, Mary. That was the big thing, is that they took Mary out of the importance that she was to Jesus.
Yeah.
That is true.
And that,
that's what I was going to say.
No, and that's true. And that is something that I did learn growing up, too, is that's the importance of... Mary in particular had a particular dispensation, I guess, within, again, torn to this lore, to come back and work with people that's why so many people have these Marian apparition, situations. Yeah. Right.
So,
I love that. And I always assumed that, and this is apparently wrong, according to my mom, she was raised Catholic, but Mary Magdalene and Mary, I always thought they were the same.
Right.
I always assumed they were the same. But, she tells me, no, that's not, historically or culture or whatever, accurate. But,
one was his mother.
Right. Well, I guess that's very true.
Right.
I guess that's a very good point.
and the sort of the dynamic that I was, I've heard, this is, maybe only one way to look at it, is that if you are sort of focusing on this idea of a Messiah or a God-realized person or a Christ, that if that person, particularly in the case of Jesus or Krishna or Rama, or is that there always is a female counterpart. And you can see this in in Hindu, but most of the time that female counterpart is like, I don't want to say hidden, but not physically hidden by other people, but like they're like intelligence or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
that there's something but I don't even want to say behind the scenes, because that's like diminishing it. It's like, think of like one person whose job is to do the like CEO work, and the other person is the assassin, but they're still like an equal duo. I don't know.
Or the pattern on the matrix, the pattern, the mother, the father and the mother, or whatever.
Right.
Like the duality of it.
Yeah.
The feminine and the masculine, one's receptive and one's proactive. Where was I going with that? And also with, Mary Magdalene versus what we think of as Mary, I mean, just the juxtaposition between the two just makes me think, okay, they have to be the same in a certain abstract respect, but also maybe the Holy Spirit too, as a manifestation of Mary, like this intermediary between human beings where, we feel comforted by talking to a mother figure, who then speaks to God for us, there's so much more from what you just said.
So, yes, also looking at the Kabbalah, you have the top 3 Sephiroth, which are the Godhead, the separation into male-female.
Yeah.
Then you have the abyss, and then material reality below it. Mm-hmm. So, the higher you get the male-female combining into one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so many deities that are literally like Baphomet. Mm-hmm. That is a male / it's a hermaphrodite.
Mm-hmm. So is Hermes.
Well, Shiva's male.
But Shiva does have Shiva's got like 1 million incarnations, and some of them are female. Yeah. Not incarnations, but they're like, they are incarnations. It's, you're right. Yeah. No. And Hermes Trismegistus, which is very much, thrice blessed Hermes, who is the word hermetic, and, and hermaphrodite, which is having both male and female, comes from Hermes, and Hermes is also, people equate Hermes with Mithras, and Mithras is a Zoroastrian. It's a lot of it goes, you see these like connections that end up going back and back and back. Yeah.
And when it spans across cultures, across time, like there is validity to it.
Or there's something there.
You can't deny it. Especially when the lack of communication between people was.
Yeah, there's a common source though too, I think.
Yeah.
If you go back far enough,
inspiration, like for these things. I mean, it has to come from somewhere, I think.
And that's, like I've talked about, when you're dealing with something like, myself dealing with Hecate, it's like, is this a thing, or is this just a thing pretending to be a thing? Like is when Walter Bosley has an interaction with something that seems to be Hecate, is it the same thing I'm dealing with?
Right.
Or are they two completely different things that are individualistic to us?
Right. There are many things that are terrible about Neil Gaiman that we found out recently.
To say the least.
But as a example of something that I think is an interesting way to think about it, and I wish I could think of a better example than American Gods, but like in American Gods, if anybody's ever read it, good. I'm glad that it wasn't. Yeah, there's an interesting idea in there in that, like, basically these gods exist based on who is worshiping them and how they're worshiping them as. So you end up having in American Gods like 80 different Jesuses.
Yeah.
There's like original Jesus. There's like, Southern American Jesus. Yeah. There's Mexican Jesus, and all of them they now exist as their own separate sort of, piece there. Yeah.
Tulpa.
Or even just like a reflection of that the Jesus like nexus, whatever that is. Like it has this godlike form, and then it has all these different sort of facets or tentacles that are
or it sort of follows the path of like need or least resistance, like it fits into whatever is needed, whatever the people are looking up to the sky and praying for, it becomes that, and fits into that niche, and and I don't think that makes it any less real.
I'm going to quote Holy Terror here, because this is what always comes to mind, is this lyric. What is the song?
Holy Terror?
It's a band. It's a thrash band from the 80s.
I like that name.
They have great lyrics. Their song Mortal Fear says, even gods in their infinity, the immortals fall away. Sanctuary's uncertainty, masterpieces turn to gray. The mighty must now scrape and crawl to keep from losing what was owned.
Ooh.
That's great.
Wait, can you read that again? Sorry.
Yeah, is this the same? Yeah, okay. So this is the main chorus of it. Even gods in their infinity, the immortals fall away. Sanctuary's uncertainty, masterpieces turn to gray. The mighty must now scrape and crawl to keep from losing what was owned.
Wow.
Which I think is a commentary both on the idea of gods being immortal and how everything will fade eventually, and also the mighty being, I'm thinking the rich, the elites, trying to keep the church, trying to keep those gods in place to keep bringing in the money.
Yeah, or trying to become God yourself.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
you're not going to get there.
We got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Quick mid-show break here and a recommendation. First of all, everything you want from Where Did the Road Go can be found at wheredidtheroadgo.com. All our social media links, shows all the way back to the very first one. Pretty much everything is there. As well as a link to become a patron. If you become a patron, you get extra stuff all month long, extra shows, extra segments after almost every show. Some of them are longer than the actual show. You get it commercial free, and you get it early. Sometimes weeks early, depending on how far behind I fall. But anyway, anything and everything can be found there. There's a link tree that will take you to all of my other stuff, like The Last Exit for the Lost, my music show, the Substack, my photography, all that stuff can be found in the link tree at wheredidtheroadgo.com. As for a recommendation, I am going to go with a podcast that only had a handful of episodes. It's called A Long Walk. It's a sci-fi podcast, and let's see, it had all of 6 episodes, but I guess they're working on new ones right now. So it seems like it has the potential to be really good. It's pretty good already, but I mean, it seems like there's a bigger story unfolding. We'll see how that comes out. So it's an audio fiction sci-fi podcast called A Long Walk. And you may have to search for A Long Walk podcast, because that's also how it's labeled some places. All right, back to the show.
So I'm here with Abby and Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at Abby's parents' house.
Yeah.
She broke in. They're not here.
Yeah. We scaled the wall.
It's nice. We got a nice table to
redecorated the entire house.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Built some more altars.
I'd say we could make the pictures on the wall crooked, but they're already crooked, and I'm staring at them.
Just slightly crooked.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just enough to drive you
so that when they come home, they're just like...
Look. They already are.
They just feel slightly askew for the rest of their lives. Well, but why would we do that to my poor, ancient, elderly parents?
I'm looking at this wall, and these are all slightly off.
That can't be very comfortable for you. Oh, my grandma did all these.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she was an artist. Nice. Sometimes I feel like I am my grandmother. Like, reincarnated. It's weird. It's creepy.
So what else did you have for Chris?
Oh, yeah. So I really liked the idea of... so when you talked about him being a trickster, I thought that was interesting. Because the way that you described how he would sort of wander around to different people, different individual people, and just sort of talk to them, or would write like half of a movie script and then move on. It sounded like he was very much following his intuition, but also very adaptable, like somebody who wanted to get his message across. And like, I think that sometimes if you don't present information in a particular way that fits with somebody else's sort of style, or present yourself as a person that this other person would naturally gravitate towards or trust, then they're not going to hear you.
Correct. Right.
And like, I don't know if this was sort of what you were describing as the trickster element, but would he sort of shapeshift almost in order to, like, could he sort of perceive the type of person he was talking to and then adapt accordingly to become more?
I definitely think so. I think that, so there are a couple of things there that I think are interesting to think about with it, is that, well, first off, the trickster thing starts both in like the personality. So as a kid growing up, Marwan Irani, which is his name before people started calling him Meher Baba, and before that people called him Marwan Seth, and then before that there was something else they called him. I forget what it was, but these are all names somebody else gave him. And he was like, he was just like, if you think of the personality of somebody that's like a playful trickster, that like always wanting to play games, like lighthearted pranks that people, love them for, and that type of gleeful sort of childlike mischievousness, according to everybody in all the books written about him, that stuck through the entirety of his, life. Now, a lot of what he was doing in terms of the work that he did going around, it was really kind of mysterious and inscrutable, and nobody really knew what the purpose of it was. So there would be, beyond something like if he established a school, or if he established, a medical dispensary or something like that was, he did that every once in a while, but then he would like disband them very quickly. But a lot of what he did,
He didn't want to be a guru, probably.
Well, sort of. He talked a lot about his inner work, and essentially the gist of what I got from it was two things. That one, a lot of the work that he was doing was individual with people, like you said. So it was like individual work, that really very much only had to do with him and you. And this is, again, if you believe that he was doing something spiritually with these people. The other thing that, would happen is that people would sort of, essentially he would say like, all right, I'm going to give up all my worldly possessions and I'm going to become a beggar. And for the next 5 years, I'm going to wander around India and I'm going to find all of these different saints. You can come with me, but you have to do the exact same thing that I'm doing. Like you can stay, like totally stay, like go with your family, not a big deal. But for those of you that want to come with me, you have to do what I'm doing too. And he did a lot of this. Like a lot of his work was really mysterious. Like he would go and need to go into a cave somewhere in Switzerland. And so he would go there and people would follow him. And, he would go and he would spend 2 days alone in the cave and he would come out and he would say, all right, I'm done. And then people would say, what now? He's like, okay, well, now we have to go to
figure something else
to Iran. It was really like, so it's really hard to figure it out. Yeah. It's playful, but he's, according to him, he was doing essentially like, spiritual work that was on different planes of existence.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Sounds like it. Like an inspiration would come and he would just follow it.
Right. So, and this is all based around, this idea that there is a spiritual hierarchy of certain individuals, not just him, but there's like I think there's like 7,000. There's some specific numbers you can find in books that exist all around the earth that are like, this is why I think it's really interesting in terms of the idea of theosophy and ascended masters and Gurdjieff and, the Samrang Brotherhood and this whole idea of there being essentially like yogis or spiritual or folks who are more evolutionarily advanced. I know it sounds bad when I say it, but
Just in
it's the same way that my daughter's 12. There's nothing they can do about being 12.
Yeah.
Like, you're 12.
Yeah.
I'm 48.
You're great. They probably
there's
can't
nothing
fix
I
the
can do.
car,
Right. Well, but and so I think that if you look at it in the sense that, maybe there is this reincarnation or evolution for human beings, that it's just somebody who's a little bit older. That's all it is. It's not a judgment. And, this is said a lot in the Meher Baba material. It's actually, again and again sort of hammered home, is that there's no value of this person being greater because they're here. It's like saying an old man is better than a kid.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the way they sort of look at it.
Yeah.
So, I forget where we're going. We're talking about the idea of the trickster. And so when I read The Trickster and the Paranormal, particularly because, not only did I think this applied to the Meher Baba stuff, but it also applies obviously to anybody who's ever looked into the paranormal at large. The trickster phenomena is so much a part of it. I just thought it was really interesting in both ways. Yeah,
absolutely. What was I going to say? I was looking for a pen so I could. I had a dream one time that. Dreams.
Dreams can be important.
And this one kind of lines up. So, and it happened to be. We were talking about my grandmother. It happened to be on her 100th birthday, and I remember that this event or this.
Was she still alive?
No, she was.
Oh, okay.
But it was called the Centennial Event in my dream.
Okay.
And it happened to be the same day as my grandmother would have been 100 years old.
Okay.
And it had to do specifically with my grandmother. And basically it showed me life as this cycling, spiraling. It's a spiral, basically. And you're... Okay, so I want to explain this in a way, but it's I have visuals. So basically it's a layered spiral, and you have people beneath you and above you who are also on this same spiraling arc. And it was like this water slide, I don't know, to make it fun. And you would keep getting to the end of this water slide, and then you would just start it over again, only you'd be at a different level. And I remember that my cousin was behind me, and I had a black cloak on, this heavy black cloak, and it was slowing me down. It was making me slower. There was nothing I could do about it. I couldn't move faster or slower than I was moving. I couldn't get further away from my cousin than I wanted to, even though he was behind me being I liked you better when you were on the other spiral, when you were faster and wittier and cooler and stuff like that. But I knew that there was nothing I could do to change where I was in life and how quickly I was going and how I was doing it. And I could see beneath me other people that I didn't recognize and didn't know who were on their spiral. And it was all layered, and I mean, just like what you were saying, where you can't change how old you are, basically. If you're
you can lie about it.
300, you could be 300 years old. Me personally, I feel like this is my first time ever on this planet. How I always say to you, I've got all these illnesses and weird stuff. It's my body has yet to acclimate to the atmosphere of Earth, because at best I was an Earth elemental, beforehand.
I want to show this to you because this is you're talking about the spiraling. And this is there's an artist that was a devotee of Meher Baba in the 30s, and they drew this. Essentially, it's like a visual representation of the central theme that was coming out of Meher Baba's work.
Oh, that's
in terms of evolution.
Interesting. Yeah. And how like that dream I had, like demons move in angles, they cut in corners and organic.
Yeah, you didn't talk about that on the show.
Oh, that'd be an interesting thing to hear about.
Yeah.
So to tell people,
I'll send you that image so you can actually look at it.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll look at it. I don't want to get distracted. That is
how can
so
people find that image?
I will give the image so it is posted on the Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll provide it. Is that okay?
That's
Is that a good way?
That's really
If I remember.
interesting.
Yeah. I'll post it myself on the Patreon.
That works.
There you
I can go on there. I promise.
So yeah, tell us about the triangle dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this a couple nights ago. Okay, so should I give context? In the back of my yard, there's a place called the Bermuda Triangle. It's where a lot of strange stuff happened. It's a triangle. You can notice there's lots of weird triangles. Like there's the Bermuda Triangle, there's the Bennington Triangle, there's lots of paranormal hotspots are in triangles. Whether that's apocryphal or something else, I don't know. But I had a dream that basically was telling me, I was seeing it from this overview consciousness angle where basically I'm drifting above the landscape and I'm seeing this area in my yard that's in the shape of a triangle. And I hear this voice saying, demons move in angles. They cut in corners. That's how they move. Organic, I think celestial beings move in curves, in spirals. And that's how you tell the difference or something. And then basically I saw an image of these electrical neon forms like racing around in this triangular space in these, just really sharp movement, really almost like flickering movements, and then the dream ended. And I have no idea what that was, but it felt correct. Is all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, there's something there that's interesting, the idea of the angles. I mean, I feel like demon is sort of representing at this point here. What are you really looking at here? Demon is representing like
Oxenfree Triangle. How did you know to look this up?
Yeah, because it's a game that I love. Oh. And they have triangles that are basically neon that are portals.
And they're portals?
Interesting. Wow, there you go.
God. Freaking kidding me.
Continue, Chris. I wasn't trying to interrupt.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I think I've lost my train of thought. The idea of like, I don't know, like negative versus positive, like a negative, demons representing
negative energy?
Yeah, negative
but not
energy.
necessarily bad.
Yeah.
I'd say bad.
Doesn't have to be like demon, like pitchfork,
Yeah, well, to be demon.
Look at this guy. It's got all the angles. Look at that guy with the extra triangles. Ooh.
Demon comes from daemon.
Right.
So it was never meant.
Oh, well, daemon is not bad.
Right, exactly. I mean, the church turned daemon into demon and made it bad.
Oh.
So I don't think when you say demon, it's evil. So yeah, those are the triangles you interact with in Oxenfree, which is one of my favorite video games of all time. The second one is not, but the first one is brilliant.
I gotta start playing video games.
And it's all dialogue driven. So you move around and you talk to the other characters, and so there's no action. It's not a shooter or anything like that.
Yeah, I hate
But the
those.
paranormal elements in this game are fantastic, and you get caught in a time loop.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
And on the other side of this portal are dead people who are also trapped in that time loop.
Oh, no. Oh,
That's
yeah,
bad.
the other
Okay.
part of my dream, that spiraling dream, was that my grandma, this is the part about my grandma, it was her 100th birthday, and she was still there. in the space between where you would exit the spiral and start a new spiral, she was still, this was really sad actually, she was still, it was like a lobby, like this empty like hospital lobby or something, and she was standing there with her hand pressed up against the glass, and outside was her favorite thing in the world, which was looking at deciduous trees. Just bare, deciduous, like birch trees was her favorite thing. You can tell from these paintings. And she couldn't leave. And the reason was, and so I stood with her for a while, and she was like, your granddad got to leave. He's out there somewhere. Like, I can't leave. And then my dad his voice gave the reason why, and he said, your grandma can't leave because your aunt Myrtle is allergic to bees, and there are bees out there, like showing like the genetic connection between stuff. Yeah, ever since then I've worried about her being trapped, in between, because it happened to be her 100th birthday, and this was called the centennial event, and then there's my I don't know, it's just like, and it's a lot there,
I think that some people, when they pass on, I do think that there's, and I've talked to some folks that have sort of said something similar, that they can be so obsessed or focused with things that are still here that they don't let themselves pass on, and that it's something that, is done. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case with your grandmother.
It's probably the case with my grandmother. She had, it was my dad's baby brother, and he killed himself, and she never got over it, and like my granddad just moved on, but she couldn't, and that's always, even in the dream, that's what I thought it was, like Charlie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't go the whole thing without mentioning Seth. Seth talks about how when people die, some people stay with their body.
Yeah.
For a while. Some people stay, here, and then other people are gone before their body's even dead.
Right.
Wow, of course they are,
And then that's been shown late, not at the time, but because near-death, when the Seth material was written, we didn't have near-death experiences. Right. Like, they were happening to people, but Monroe wrote about them. It was Monroe, and who's the other one? It was a woman, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross?
Yeah, it was Kubler-Ross. Yeah. So also did the Kubler-Ross, the ones you're thinking about,
Yeah, whatever it is I'm thinking about.
She was also a freak.
Like the stages of grief?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the two of them are the first ones who started studying near-death experiences, and that wasn't until like the mid-'70s. Yeah. And the Seth material was written in the 60s and early 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the idea of someone leaving their body before they're dead, that's what really turned me into taking the Seth material more seriously, is that I was looking in the late 90s at new research on near-death experiences, and there was this heart doctor who interviewed everyone that he had worked on, whether they died on the operating table or not. And one of the things he found is some of the people who did not die had near-death experiences. Mm-hmm. And he was like, this was very unexpected. They had very legitimate near-death experience, and they were never dead.
Yep.
And then I read that in Seth and go, huh.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Seth said, and no one else said this. So maybe she's tapping into something.
Yeah, totally.
Wait, could you explain a little bit more about what, are you saying that it didn't seem like people had near-death experiences?
No, they had them, but they were never studied.
They were never talked about.
Okay, they were never studied. They were never really, the term near-death experience didn't exist until who was it?
Monroe?
Or Monroe. It was...
Ring? No.
Nope. Let's see.
You gotta look it up. There was a point that I had
My mom had a near-death experience.
Oh, yeah?
She was having me. Yeah. She died for like... it's like anywhere from 3 seconds to a minute, depending on her mood in the day.
Yeah.
But... yeah, it was like a planned C-section, and
Raymond Moody.
Okay. Raymond Moody, yes, right.
Life After Life
Raymond Moody.
by Raymond Moody in 1975. Okay, go on about the near death.
That name rings a bell. I don't know why, but yeah, it was I was like a planned C-section, and they accidentally injected the anesthetic into like her spinal fluid or something, or just something went horribly wrong, and she flatlined for however long she flatlined for. It totally depends, but
Depends how guilty she wants to make you feel.
yeah, exactly. Or just the character she's playing that day. I love her, but she's a 50 card deck, but yeah, I've always felt like, you know, the way that you come in and the way you leave is the same channel, you know. And she said that she was going towards this bright light, and she felt overwhelming love, and you know, and this is the same woman who later on is you know, poo-pooing all of the matter can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed, you know, proves life after death. Like she just dismissed all that away, you know, just nuts balls. But that's not a curse.
No, it's not.
It's not. But yeah, then she said she felt, you know, this sharp the grasp on her wrist, yanking her back into her body, and she always blamed me for it, saying like you brought, like you were the one that like made me come back to be your mom, you know. Like,
Okay.
and I can picture it though, like me coming in one way and seeing my mom going the other way, and being like, where do you think you're going? You know, like, you turn that ship around, lady. You know, we're gonna give this a shot at least, you know. Didn't work out that great, but I love her very much. Yeah, that's so funny.
Well, we're almost out of time. Did you have anything else for Chris real quick?
Yes, but
We'll pick one.
Yeah.
We'll do a Patreon.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, I'll pick. Could I pick one more real quick one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I loved what you said about, you know, sort of the infinite ocean of consciousness. And then when you become a soul, you sort of wrap this shell around you to become individuated.
That a lot of that is coming from really sort of, I don't want to say basic, but like
universal.
Well, no, it also comes fundamentally. It's like old. That's Vedanta, the idea, and there are specific names for it. So like the idea of the ocean, and then this soul being sort of enwrapped. That's called the concept of the Atman, which you can. It's just it's general information. It's not just me. That's like a very old Vedic thing. Yeah. And which I think is beautiful too.
Yeah, and I love it. And I had a dream one time where I was watching my friends building their shells from the inside out, which is how you're supposed to build it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So like as an external manifestation of the soul, you build outwards from within, right? From intuition and instinct. Yeah. I, however, did it the opposite way, and a storm was coming. I was basically building an artistic creation. I built a castle, and it was perfect. It was beautiful. It had crystals on top of it, and it was beautiful. Then the storm came, and I realized that all of my friends were encased in their domes, and they were completely protected. Yeah. I had forgotten to build even a door that opened, let alone could I fit inside my tiny little, like, you know, play school castle or whatever, and I was effed. And that's how the dream ended.
That's interesting.
And that was like the most basic. It was almost an offensive dream. I was like, I'm like, that is so obvious, you know, like what that means, you know. So, I just thought that was super interesting.
That is. That's a really, I mean, that's a very, like, distinct and vivid metaphor, too.
It's like,
you know, in the
we're going to give it to you real straight here.
All right. Well, we're out of time for the main show. We'll do a Patreon segment so you can interrogate Chris some more.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go redecorate the house in a weird way.
That, too.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like that, we continue our conversation for a while in a Patreon segment, and you can become a patron for only $3 a month at weirdtheroadgo.com, and you get extra stuff all month long. You get bonus pieces from every episode where we usually continue the conversation. Sometimes it's saying a little different, but you get the shows early. You get them commercial free. It's well worth the $3. You also get extra stuff on top of all of that every once in a while, and it means a lot. If you care about this show, that is the best way to support us. If you want to leave us a great rating, 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to, review us, recommend us to your friends. That also helps an immense amount. I'll see you next time. You have been listening to Where Did the Road Go? This show is made possible in part from our Patreons, and we thank you and everyone listening for helping us continue this exploration of the strange. You can always find everything Where Did the Road Go related at www.wheredidtheroadgo.com. And thank you so much for your support.